1st of April, 5500. Journal of Dr. Paul Henderson. We have crashed into a wild and forested environment. Not everyone of the crew has arrived. There are only 5 of us remaining. We don't know if the rest of the crew survived. It all happened so fast. Only a small collection of items was stowed in the escape pods, and we have food to last a few days. It was unanimously agreed that shelter and food would need to be the main priority. We have come across a derelict structure built long ago by God knows who. That Linda is confident she can patch with the steel salvaged from the escape pods. There is no shortage of wildlife around us, so shelter needs to be erected quickly. We moved the supplies into the ruin while Linda drew up plans to complete the walls. Julian brought in the remainder of our supplies. I do not know much about him. He is evasive, and any attempts to discuss his past are met with defensive rebuttals. Perhaps I will learn more in the coming days. As night closed in, Linda informed us that the walls were complete. She seems confident they will hold up. We have a roof of sheet metal and have chosen the floor of the north side to sleep. 2nd of April, 5500. Journal of Dr. Paul Henderson. We awoke to find Linda laying concrete around the shack perimeter. She says that this will protect us from bushfires, and that we should get to work laying floorboards inside to protect us from bugs in the ground. We are all a little on edge, as a large megasloth has been loitering near the shack. Dennis was already keeping watch for threats in the landscape around us. He is an imposing figure and an experienced marksman. Though his eye was hurt in the crash, I will need to look at that when we get settled. That megasloth though, I am not sure even both the rifles we have would be enough to fend it off. The rifles came into use sooner than we expected, when Linda was attacked by a hare. It was over in moments, and everyone was fine, but it was a reminder that we are in a wild place, with only each other to depend on. Sam was more shaken than the others, but I took the time to comfort her. Sam has a more studious nature and has not had much to contribute so far, though I suspect that if we are to escape this place, her intellect will be of great use. While the rest of us settled down for the night, Dennis headed out to hunt. It was a successful trip, with the exception of a turkey that was lost to a wild fox. Dennis was very annoyed about this, though we all saw the humour. Third of April, 5500. Journal of Dr. Paul Henderson. I had mentioned in passing that sleeping on the hard floor would be bad for our health long term. Little did I know that Linda would awake before the sun was up and begin constructing a better domicile shelter for us, given that it looks like we may be here a while. The megasloth has returned, and is becoming ever more brazen in its proximity to the camp, though it has not shown signs of aggression towards us so far. I am a doctor without any patience at present, and I don't mean that I'm short-tempered, so I make myself useful in preparing our food. There are carcasses to butcher and food to cook, and I am told I prepare quite the simple meal. As night falls, Linda, Dennis and Sam brave the megasloth to play horseshoes outside. I have cautioned them against getting too close, but it is our only form of entertainment, and so my words fell on deaf ears. 6th of April, 5500. We have begun planting rice and cotton plants. 2 large animals have appeared nearby that Dennis has advised us are thrumbos, rare but very dangerous animals that really attack if not provoked. In light of this though, we have drawn up plans to improve the camp defences. The crops will serve us well, as while Dennis is a skilled hunter, we have no means of preserving the carcasses at present. Food became low after some of the carcasses began to rot. We really need some kind of refrigeration in the camp. Sam says she could learn a technique for generating power and providing cooling if she had a research bench to experiment with, and so the rest of us agree she should get to work on figuring this out. 8th of April, 5500. In working together on the refrigeration project, Sam and Dennis have become very close. It's early days, and I have not been privy to all the details, but I do believe they are now an item. It may be too early to call it love, but they both seem very happy for the first time since we crashed, and honestly, we could all use a bit of happiness right now. Sam has been very productive in building the walls of the refrigerator. She just needs to set up the components, and hopefully this will work. Ninth of April, 5500. With the wood burning generator complete, we need wood to burn. So myself, Dennis and Julian have been out chopping wood. Julian finally shed a little light on his past by mentioning he was AWOL from the army at the time of joining the crew. He's far more reserved than the rest of us and seems to prefer keeping his distance. But by the afternoon, we have the generator up and running, and thankfully, the refrigeration unit Sam built is working perfectly. We can now freeze our food stock indefinitely. Linda has begun mining out an area to be used as a kitchen. That night, we spotted a group of people in the distance. They were not part of our crew, so one thing is certain, we are not alone on this planet. 10th of April, 5500. Work on the kitchen has begun. Sam offered to build the cooker with her technological know-how. I was admittedly glad to not have to cook over an open fire anymore. With Dennis continuing to hunt for the team, we would be sure to have a healthy supply of food for the coming weeks. First of August, 5500. A new season had dawned on us, and in the night there was a terrible crashing noise north of the camp, or so I had been told the next day. Only Dennis heard the bang, and what sounded like the faint cries of a male voice. He had ran to the sound, and found the shivering and crying man, weak from crashing so violently into the ground. He had recognized them from the ship, though had never affiliated with them. He tried as best as possible to get them back to the camp, but just as it was coming into view, the man, who was supposedly called Silver, died in Dennis's arms. Dennis returned back to camp and slept heavily due to exhaustion, and woke up later than everyone else the next day. He had later told me of their conversation. "What happened?" The pod. It did not land. I was suspended in orbit for so long. Don't worry, I will get you back to our camp. Is this how I die? You are not dying today. He had later confided in me that he knew he had lied to that man, given the state he was in. Sam and Linda were busy constructing a storage room, so they had not noticed a change in Dennis, but I had, and could see that he was suffering a mild form of PTSD. I had advised him to take it easy for a few days, but he insisted on going hunting, and while away from camp, his usually steady aim failed him, and startled a galloping mare. Sensing the danger, he fell back and shouted for Julian, our other marksman from the crew, to come and rescue him. With the two of them on the case, they had taken down the horse, and thankfully no one was injured. Sam and Linda were then preparing steel defences around the camp. Dennis, shaken from his experiences, decided to try and tame a boom rat, known for being milked to produce chem fuel. He had failed to entice the boom rat to join us. I played Sam, the other intellectual of the camp, in a friendly game of chess. It was a close game, but Sam had beaten me fair and square. She is a sharp person and a very good chess player. Afterwards, I kept myself busy by cooking meals to keep up our supply. However, later that night, a violent lightning storm thundered overhead, startling all of us. An unpleasant way to wrap up what was already the worst day we had experienced on this alien planet so far. 2nd of August, 5500. None of us had noticed that the fork lightning had caused a series of violent fires surrounding the camp. Dennis and Julian were first to notice, and were first on the scene to help fight the fire. Linda's previous advice of laying concrete around the camp and crops proved successful, as fortunately, no part of the camp was badly burnt. The crew did well to keep the fire at bay around the camp. The entire canyon, however, was ablaze. Sam, afraid of fire, made herself useful in repairing the barricades. Thankfully, a heavy rainfall started to come down, which quenched the fire in its entirety. For now, the camp was as safe as it could be, and a crisis had been averted. We had been crashed here for just over a month, and while we had built a fully functioning homestead, we had been exposed to so many dangers and risks and unpleasant situations. This planet did not seem to be easing up. However, we have survived, and I don't intend to stop here.